Good afternoon, everyone. You are listening to the Author's Quill. I hope today everyone is having a great day, wherever you may happen to be sitting in our big, blue, beautiful planet. I know we have people overseas, and it's midnight over there for some of y'all. Some it's 10 o'clock. We got friends in Australia, which, of course, it's happy Sunday over there. I hope y'all having a good Sunday. This particular show goes out to about 160 countries, 155, 160 countries. The station goes out somewhere around 180 to 200, depending on what show it happens to be. So I hope everyone is really having a good day, good afternoon. If you're in America, welcome, guys. I hope y'all are having a good thing. Yes. Before anybody starts on me, the news show was last night. So just keep that shit to yourselves today. Excuse my language. Or keep it for the chat after this show. I don't want to hear about it today. We do a news on the flip side on Friday nights, 3 to 4 hours. And last night, the last hour, one of my hosts and I got into, I will just say, a discussion about how the pyramids were built. We probably gave the entire nation 101, 202, 303, and 404 on Egyptology. They were like, one lady wrote in, y'all don't like each other. I said, no, we're actually really good friends. We just want y'all to understand that there's a lot of things that could have happened here. I said, look, we didn't build them. I said, I can tell you I didn't build them. I said, but I am a general contractor, so I do understand how construction works. But it's a lot of fun. It really is. We have a really good time. And, of course, we had other real news we had to do at the beginning of the show. But once the real news is over, it's to the fun news. Like today's show is not anything about news. Today on the chat is, what is the best way I could describe that show? Retarded. Not hating on anybody, but the show is just, it's the largest show on the network by far. It's the youngest and largest. And for some reason, people just love it. And the week before last, we spent an hour and a half talking about recipes.
This is the chat?
Yeah, it's the chat. It's insane.
This is the show after this one.
Yeah, so people get to pick the topics. The audience is allowed to pick the topics, and it's been a lot of strange topics. A lot of weird. Hey, that's what they want to hear. That's fine by me. Well, fortunately for me, I have a well-versed group of hosts that host with me, so it's a good thing. But anyway, I'm gonna let Carmen do some introductions here while I move us over to another server yet to go again.
Okay, so today we have two gentlemen from ARK Press, A-R-K Press. We have Dave Butler, who I'm going to first, only because it's easier to pronounce his last name. And he's the publisher of ARK Press, correct?
We're both senior editors, actually.
Oh, you're both senior editors. Okay. I know. David mentioned that to me in his, he was the bio that I sent in the confirmation email. He said, actually, so he corrected me on that. So, and then we have also David Afsharirad, and they're both authors and they're both senior editors at ARK Press. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the Author's Quill. And I understand you met John Goodwin, who normally co-hosts this at Life, the Universe, and Everything.
We did see him there. We actually had a good interview with him at Superstars of Writing, which was the week before. But I'm not sure when.
Which is Superstars is the one in Colorado Springs, right?
That's right, Colorado Springs. The Kevin Anderson et al. Yeah,
who just happens to be one of our Writers of the Future judges too. So,
yeah, I think several of the people who have been part of organizing Superstars over the years have been Writers of the Future judges or involved.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a terrific event. But I was actually saying to John, I can't remember where I met him, but he's been around the scene for a while, and I've met him somewhere before, some previous events. Could have been LTUE, could have been elsewhere.
Right, and LTUE is in Salt Lake City,
Utah, but it's in Provo, Utah. Yeah.
Provo, okay, all right. Yeah, I haven't been to that one.
Giving some lectures in Provo, Utah.
Oh yeah, I'm in Provo, Utah right now. That's Provo out that window.
Wow.
Well, the first time somebody invited me to come up there to speak, I was like, "Where the hell are you at?" It's like, "You never heard of us?" And no.
This
He's
is
like,
a
"Joe."
joke in Fletch. He says he's going to go undercover in Provo, and someone says Provo, Spain.
Yeah, no, well,
That's
I'd given
good.
some lectures in southern Utah because they were doing these things where they wanted to drive down to Area 51.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, sure. And then I got to do some lectures in Salt Lake City, and then he goes, Provo. I'm like, I've never heard of it. And he's like, Joe, shame on you. And I'm like, dude, I travel a lot, man. I mean, I did so far since January. I have been in what, 15, 16 states. It's in DC 3 different times. And people don't go to DC unless you have to. Don't get me wrong. I love our country. I'm not hating, but if you don't have to go, don't go. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Currently, it's a nightmare. I just stay out of there for a while. Give it time to rebake. How's that to say it? It's don't get me wrong. I mean, every time I go, I get to do the gig at the press club, which is always fun. You know, it's always fun to do the gig at the press club. And I did give testimony to Congress twice, so that was a unique experience, and we'll leave that at that. So anyway, so Provo, huh?
Yeah.
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 And
That's
I
an
of course,
alien, man.
I know about Provo because I do the publicity work for the writers and illustrators of the Future Contest.
Yeah.
And I had more people, either writer or illustrator, win that contest who live in Utah than any other state in the union. So, so I even know cities like Eagle Mountain and
That's good. That's good.
and Lehigh and
Yeah.
let's see, there's we got someone here in volume 42 coming up that just I can't quite think of the city. Just it's almost straight west of Salt Lake City.
Could be like Tooele or Grantsville.
There you go. There it is, Tooele. Yeah.
Tooele looks like Thule. Yeah, Tooele.
Right.
I was just out there last week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a very small town.
Is it?
You got a beautiful state, I have to say. I've enjoyed the dark sky parks they have been to. What, 3 of them I think they have.
Oh, I love. I got into naked eye astronomy with my kids maybe 15 years ago, and we were living in Idaho at the time. But this was one of the first things I looked at coming down to Utah is, okay, where can I get to dark sky in a reasonable drive? And so one of our favorite places is to go around the Nevada border. So if you get out west of Delta, Utah, it's like State Highway 6. There's a Great Basin National Park is right on the border, but you don't have to go that far. Even out by like Delta, it's a town, but it's such a small town that its light is sort of negligible, and you get a really beautiful dark sky. Or you can go up in the Uintas the other way and get up in the high mountains. There
was some beautiful skies there, and a good friend of mine, Nathan Willis, I just call him a desert rat, probably wealthiest desert rat on the planet, but he likes to take us to like ghost towns and places like that. Matter of fact, we're coming back from I don't even know where. Oh, we come back from Area 51. He just stops in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful, stunning sky. I have no idea where we were. Just on some highway. There was nothing in any direction for at least 75 miles. It was a beautiful place. It was just all you could hear was some little wind blowing and some coyotes whooping in the background. But it was really, really stunning. I've spent quite a bit of time in Utah. My wife likes what's the one right there at the Colorado border coming in?
Depends on where you are, but it could be Grand Junction on Highway 70.
No, it's way. I think it's more to the top.
It's Vernal.
What the hell? Now I can't think of the name. It's one of those towns where it's kind of like a sports town. Everybody goes skiing or jogging or mountain climbing or stuff like that.
Park City?
No,
Park
it'll
City?
come to me sooner or later. Sooner or later.
Is this
because we stumbled
Springs on the Colorado side?
Yeah, we came in. We were driving in and we caught it coming in from Colorado, but I mean it was barely across the border. And we stopped in there. Matter of fact, we left in. We found some interstate, like where the interstate started. Matter of fact, there was a UFO store right there at the interstate, and then we took a left. And I got to say one thing: troopers. I was doing 95 when I blew by this trooper. He didn't even look up. Oh, I mean, I was kind of disappointed. I mean, he didn't. You see his car did this number. He didn't even look up at me. I'm loving this state, man. This is loving this state.
That's funny. I got invited to go with a group to Israel, Jordan, and Egypt next summer. which I was
Wow.
very excited about. Yeah, but I got real excited when I realized I looked at the itinerary. I said, "Wait a minute!" And then I went and checked the moon phases, and I said, "Oh man, it's going to be a new moon the night we're supposed to be at St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai." So I got real excited. Look, forget about all the pyramids and stuff. I'm excited to go out stargazing in Sinai in the new moon.
That's going to be interesting there. That's definitely going to be interesting there. But I mean, in the States, I think Utah has the most dark sky parks of anybody. I mean, if you're going to top it, you're going to have to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's out in the west. I mean, that's interesting. I haven't looked at maps, but I would have thought like Montana would have some good stuff. And
I thought they would too, but for some reason or another,
too many towns, huh?
Yeah, well, when we looked it up, because my wife drives me crazy, she always wants to go to one. So I looked them up, and y'all had the most of any state in the areas. I was like, and as far as being out in the east, you might as East Coast don't even have any. I mean, it's too much light, too much clutter. Where I live in Mississippi, there's one north of us, but even there, it's pretty, but it's not the same. One, you don't have all that openness around you. You got nothing but forest and swamp and burping alligators and stuff like that. Beautiful sky though, but it's just not the same. And,
Joe, what, just for like people like me and maybe some of your listeners here, what exactly is dark skies?
Dark sky. Okay, we'll let Dave answer.
So it turns out that man, this is an interesting subject, right? I think arguably this is a respect in which we human beings alive right now are dramatically different from our ancestors, which is especially in the West, because the advent of electric light means that if you live anywhere near a city, not just in a city, but near a city, you don't really see the night sky.
Right. I'm in Los Angeles. So
there's
want to talk about light.
Right?
We'll talk about light. But sometimes I go to the mountains like 75 miles north of here, and you just go, whoa.
It's very different. And if you can get out to where, so dark sky is, a theoretical pure dark sky is totally out of reach of electric light. So I think that the darkest sky within drive of me would be about 2.5 hours away. It is the Great Basin National Park on the border of Utah and Nevada. Now that's like the ugly side of Utah, and like Nevada only has ugly sides. So there's there's nothing, right? There's nothing out there. And you can see the sky as human beings for however many thousands of years saw it, right? Up until 100 years ago. And there's just way more.
No offense to the people in Las Vegas or Carson City or Reno.
Look, Nevada's got a lot of great things going for it. It's the people though. It's not the sort of big empty chaparral. It's the Sierras are pretty, but sorry, Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of sad because Nevada doesn't have. I've been all over Nevada, and really and truly, they don't have the same skies as Utah does. It's kind of weird, even down there in Rachel, where it's nowhere. I mean, Rachel's, I think, 100 miles in either direction, anything. First thing you see is a sign, please gas up, 100 miles next gas station.
Yeah.
And still their skies wasn't as pretty.
Yeah.
You know what, though? You did see a lot of Las Vegas air traffic going by. And believe it or not, people, as far as away we were from Nevada, you could actually still see the glow of Nevada off in the distance.
Yeah.
Of Las Vegas, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
off in the distance.
Really,
I was surprised with that.
Really good stargazing. You want no light pollution. You want to go on a new moon, right? So there's maybe 4 or 5 days a month when there's no visible moon, and a clear sky. So deserts are great because you rarely overcast, right? And so you can get some good stargazing out here in Utah. That's true.
Nice. And David, do you do much stargazing yourself?
Man, I'll tell a funny story about it. So
and you're in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
city, but we were up in my wife. Her aunt has some land up, kind of near. It's a great name, Possum Kingdom Lake, over here. Mm-hmm. It's about 4 hours away from where we are. And so we were up there with our kids, and I think he was like 5 at the time. Our son just went up and he goes, "What are all those dots up there?" I was like, "Oh no, we have failed at some very basic thing."
Been living in the city too much, huh?
Yeah, we need to move.
I know it is pretty amazing at night.
It is amazing. I mean,
Austin's a beautiful city, but I mean,
yeah, but you look up and there's 2 stars, right?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
the
any
town I was
city.
thinking about was Moab. That's where we were at.
Oh
in
yeah,
Moab, too.
over on the eastern side of
Yeah.
the state. Yeah, with all the
Yeah,
rock climbing and mountain biking and stuff.
Yeah, if I'd have let my wife, we'd be living there.
Yeah,
I don't know why she liked the place. I said, "Babe, you see what the sign says about the snow and the rocks and the change? No, you can't live there. It's not gonna happen."
It's a little town. It's very touristy. I bet
It is very touristy.
It probably feels like a very small town, but it's got pretty cool restaurants and
Yeah, we checked out a couple of places while we were there. It is for such a small town. It is very touristy. I was really surprised, but hey, you got to make a living somewhere or another. So that works.
I think that's it. There's agriculture. If you drive around, that's the LaSalle Mountains there. You go up in those canyons, they do have cattle. They do plant. You see planted fields, but it's pretty dry country. So
It's very dry. Yes,
there's just a lot more money in mountain biking and stuff like that.
They had what I call a semi dark sky park there. We checked out one. It's very pretty. I mean, I don't want to hate them. It's a very pretty area, but man, look, I come from the swamp, people. I live in a place where the humidity on average is 90%. I can't live in a state when it's dry like that. I couldn't do it. I know I spent some time in Arizona with some friends. I was like cracking and stuff. My skin's like, go home, boy. You have no business out here.
It's a real factor. Yeah, there are others too. The altitude. So there is an elevated incidence of suicide in states that have Rocky Mountains in them, and one line of research indicates that the altitude affects some people's brain chemistry.
I could see that.
Wow.
And so, if you're not from here, people who move here sometimes find themselves depressed.
But something I did notice. Well, something I noticed about all of Utah in general, because I've been in several areas. It's always funny. Someone's either got a book in their hand or a book in their car. It's got to be the most literate state in the union, and I know I'm going to hack some of you people off out there, but really and truly, per capita, I'd say it's probably the most literate state in the union. Where I live, in probably the least literate state in the union. So I'm trying. That's why we give away so many free books every year. We really are trying to get the rate up, but I've never met anybody there that just wasn't a prolific reader. I mean, everybody there reads, especially if you're talking about science fiction or fantasy. They really seem to read a lot of it, and
we're nerds.
Well, I'm not hating. It's a great thing. Now, where David lives in Austin, I've been to Austin several times. Austin's just a little party town, is what Austin is. Got a lot of good food, though, man. Yeah. They got a lot of good food there.
Good music.
Yeah. Now I come from New Orleans, so when I say good food, that's a big compliment because
for sure.
Most places when I go traveling, I'm like, do y'all know how to cook? I said, I actually asked the chef one time. I was in New Jersey. I said, can I come in the back and teach y'all how to cook? And he looked at me like, what? I said, dude, I'm from New Orleans. I said, I can guarantee I can up your menu in 5 minutes. I said, it's not going to be hot. I said, everybody don't understand. Seasoning don't mean it's hot. Seasoning just means it tastes good. And, we blend 4. It's what Caribbean, Spanish, French, and I forget the other ones. On a regular basis, we probably invented fusion food. But it's always good, and so it makes it hard on me when I was traveling. Like I was out in Vegas, everybody kept telling me how good the food was. I was like, well, I'm going home. The guy's like, Wes, I'm going home. Y'all's food. I'm not going to say the word I use, but I said it's not that great. It's like L.A. LA's got okay food, but it's just nothing special. I'm spoiled, is what it is. That's what it comes down to. But I really love traveling in cities that people read a lot in, because I like to talk to people. I don't get the chance to read anymore. That's why I always tell all my friends or any people I know that are authors that send me audiobooks, because I can do audiobooks because I'm either flying a lot or driving a lot, so it makes it easier on me. But having to sit down and take the time to read a decent book really cuts into my time for running a station or taking care of other stuff or dealing with hosts or hosting shows, because I host 5 shows myself. it makes it hard. So I appreciate somebody who has time to actually read. I was talking with this is a long time. I was talking with Art Bell, another desert rat, and he used to tell me what he would do before every show is he'd sit down and read a book before he went on air. And he said, I used to try to read something that pertained to whatever the show was going to be about or the guest. He said, but then I got to the point, well, everybody wants to talk about aliens and stuff. So I just read whatever I wanted to read and let them talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. But he was one of the few hosts that I knew that would actually stand up and say something to the crazies. He'd be like, oh, well, you sure that's right? She'd give him all kind of trouble. I like a host that's willing to stand up for what they believe in, so it's always fun. And he was a prolific reader. He liked to read. Now George Norrie, on the other hand, George, I love you if you listen, because I know you listen to the show. George ain't the biggest reader in the country. He's probably like me. Probably likes to listen more than he likes to read. But I mean, on YouTube, since y'all are doing editing, y'all have to do a lot of reading, both of y'all.
Yeah.
I would imagine what is your a book a day, a book every couple of days?
Yeah, something like that. If you include manuscripts we're looking at, well, okay. Do we include manuscripts we read only part of?
Well, yeah, I guess it's still reading. I mean, it's still reading. So
I know, but sometimes you quit after 2 pages because you go, man. Do I get?
I can understand that too.
But all the way through, yeah, I'd be surprised if it's not at least. I try to keep my hand in. I don't know, David, how you kind of feel about this, but I try to keep my hand in reading, just for my own interest too. So yeah, it's rare that I read less than 3 books in a week.
So what about you, David?
But I still, it's funny. I mean, obviously there's reading for work, but then also people will be like, man, how do you read so much? And like, the thing with a book, I've said this a lot, is that you can read for 5 minutes. You can't really watch a movie in 5-minute increments, right? Because there's like, you got to turn on your TV and, or pull it up. And plus it's a terrible experience to break up a movie or a television show but you can read for 5 or 10 minutes in between things. So, it's always sort of, to me, I mean, it's nice to be able to do it longer, and I obviously do, but that to me has, since having kids and job and you're busy, reading has always been the easiest thing to fit in to me, for that reason. You can just dip in and out in a way that you can't really with, I mean, I guess music, but with most other storytelling media, right? So yeah, I don't know how many I read in a day. Dave talked about the manuscripts. That's a thing. You don't need, unless it's real good, you're not going to read all of it, right?
You read some.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, if you're forced to read something that's, we'll say, less than par, it makes it harder. I've given the illustrators a hard time over the years because, I've been looking at books and I look and I said, boy, this cover, this is going to be a good book. Yeah, my ass. I get, I'm like not even through the first. I'm like, nope, I can't read this. And then I'll skip ahead just to see, well, maybe, so I'll skip like halfway in the book and I'm reading like, nope, I'll go give it to somebody. And then I'll write to the illustrator, you're a blankety, don't do this anymore. Or I'll write to the author and say, why'd you do that, man? I mean, you should have just put on the cover. The book was, not so good. And unfortunately, there's a lot of not so good books that get published. I'm not sure how they get published, but they do.
I have a theory.
And, spit it out, baby. Spit it out.
This is what we think about.
Wait a minute. Let me guess. You guys weren't the senior editors on it.
Well, that's
right.
part of the problem. That's bad editing. I think a lot of I don't know what's happened. There's probably a lot of factors. We could probably talk about it and figure out some. But I think a lot more people. There's a lot more supply of people who are writing novels than there really is in terms of like demand for reading. So we're getting a lot of people producing a lot of really mediocre novels. Is the truth, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
No, because there's a lot of people who want to get their stuff out there.
Right. And David, you have some input.
No, yeah, and I think too that I was talking about this on another podcast, like sort of the rise of self-publishing has made it possible, and which is great for people who couldn't get in or weren't interested in getting in through traditional means, right? And there's some great stuff being done. This is not to sort of put everything into one basket, but the people who are successful at it, they're doing something right, and whether that be they're great writers, and they're certainly great writers, or they're perfectly serviceable writers who are writing the kinds of stories that people attach to, which, by the way, traditional publishing, it's not like everybody there is a magnificent wordsmith, right?
Just out of curiosity, what did you mean by perfectly serviceable?
The writing? I mean,
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of writers who, if you looked at their stuff on a sort of like beautiful craft level, maybe they're not, their sentences aren't particularly beautiful in and of themselves or whatever, but their stories are great and their characters are great. And their writing doesn't get in the way of that. I guess put it that way, right?
Okay.
Whatever they're doing, and it's great. The problem is, though, and this is really it's the problem for the independent authors and who are doing it right, and it's the problem for readers, is that there's no real barrier to somebody who has no idea what they're doing getting out there too. And so, the signal to I think this is what Dave was saying. I think everybody who sort of like ever wanted to write a book can do it now and put it out there. And in one way, that's a beautiful thing. In another way, that means there's a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think it does them a disservice too, right? In that I think actually getting knocked down and having to improve, and working through stuff, I think is I think there's probably a lot of people who have self-published a lot of books who have not had success and who feel like they've somehow just missed the bus or something. And it's like, man, it's because you're just kind of pooping out books,
Right.
You're not working on your craft. You're not trying to get better.
Well, I guess it's kind of hit and miss.
It's like they sort of ran it up the flagpole and didn't bother to look at, did this really fly or not?
Right.
Right? And it's like,
And
nobody's reading it but me.
Yeah.
Well, I got a good friend who's written about 160 books now, and he writes 9 to 5. He's a 9 to 5 writer. He gets up on Monday morning, gets his coffee, goes in his room, locks the door, locks the kids out, locks the wife out, locks the dog out, and goes to writing. Comes out for lunch, goes back in and writes. And he produces probably a book about every 2 weeks, sometimes faster. And some of the books are really good, and some of the books are, how can I say this politely, garbage. And but we're friends, and I've told him that. I'm like, dude. He said, well, Joe, it's hit and miss. He said, I got 160 books. I mean, if 80 of them are good and 80 of them are garbage, I got this. But dude, let me say, I read one of your books. It's real good, and then the next 3 books I get from you are garbage. I ain't gonna never read one of your books ever again. I said, you need to think about that. He said, well, they sell pretty good. I'm like, whatever, but he does. That's how he writes, and they're usually about 250 to 350 pages, and I have no idea. And you know what? He still uses a traditional typewriter.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. He uses a typewriter, and I've asked, so, dude, I'll give you a program for your computer. So I'll give you a computer. Just, oh no, Joe, I got to have the typewriter. He said, I got to get it. I said, really? He said, I got to hear it. I'm like, whatever. I said, you're not gonna make that come out of your computer. He's like, and it says, way faster. The edited for you as it's going along and the correct spelling. He said, oh no, that takes the fun out. I was like, okay, whatever. And but he likes to write books about weird stuff. The weirder it is, the better it is for him. He's written all kind of weird stuff about Europe and places like that. And if it's got some kind of weird connotation to it, he wants to write about it. So it makes him happy, and he enjoys doing it. And I'm like, whatever. And then I know people, it's taken them 5 years to get out one book. And I hate to think if it's 5 years and the book ain't good. That really sucks. I mean, really, you spend 5 years of your life and you publish a novel and you're kind of like, oh, well, this wasn't all that good, was it? That's what editors are for, man. To help you make the book better.
So that's what I kind of got David and Dave, what you guys are doing. You're always soliciting for new material that that reaches the bar or goes above it, right?
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just briefly, so I don't know if people know, Arc Press. We started up early this year, first of this year. Tony Daniels, editor in chief, and we're all authors, but also all veterans on the editing side of thing and publishing. And so we're sort of just broadly a genre fiction publisher. Mostly science fiction and fantasy, but thrillers and anything you kind of think of as a genre book. And also, by the way, probably we would do some literary novels, right? In fact, one of them we're doing kind of is. It's a satire anyway. So we have a website, arc.press, that you can go on there if you are an author, and there's a submissions page, and you can read all about that. We're in talks with agents, obviously, too, and soliciting stuff from people we know. But we'd love to hear from anybody who wants to send us something that they think might be up our alley. So.
Well, y'all hear that, authors? Because I know there's quite a few authors that listen to this show. So, well, that's John. When I'm talking to John, I'm like, he's that's what he loves, editing books. He loves reading books. Every time I talk to him, I said, "How many books you read this week, John?" "Oh, just 2." I'm like, "Just 2, huh?" Yeah. Well, I got to read one for my show, and I got to read one for myself. I'm like, okay. Which he does. He's one of the few hosts I know that actually reads the entire book before he brings a guest on.
Yeah.
Most hosts will lie, and I've actually helped the authors with this. I said, look, so when a host tells you they read your whole book, I said, pick something out of the middle of your book because you don't want to give the story away, and then question the host on it. They're like, really? I said, yeah, you'll know within 5 minutes if they read that book or not. And it's better that way because it puts the host on their back foot. It gives you more control of the interview. And I showed them how to do it, and they were cracking up. It really works. I said, yeah, it really works. Because most hosts will tell you. So most hosts will read 3-4 pages out the front, maybe a couple of pages in the middle, and then the end, and that's all they're going to read because they figure that's all they need to know because you're going to tell them the rest. Because I've got a firm rule on for anybody when I do host. I always tell them I don't want to know what the beginning of your story is. I don't know what the end of the story is. I just want you to talk about the middle of the book. Because some books, if you give me just a little bit in the beginning, a little bit in the middle, I done figured your book out. So I don't want to do that. I just tell them, you give us something out the middle. It's all you need, because then people are kind of confused. They're like, well, this could be interesting, but you don't know how it started. You don't know how it's going to end. But you'd be surprised how many people come on and basically give the whole book away. And I'm like, why'd you do that? It just stuns me, man. I'm like, why? And I've been interviewing hosts for, 30 years now. Authors for damn near 30 years now. And I've lost count, well over 1,000. Probably well over 2,000. It's just, I'm like, just don't give the story away. You're not here. You're just here to sell your book, not here to give the story away. Just want to give it enough to pique somebody's interest to go buy your book. And I said, that's what you really, really want to do. I said, matter of fact, I'm not going to, since I had 2 really famous authors on recently, and they're talking about their new books, right in the middle, and they stop. So they stop, and I said, I'm going to text you something private. And I texted, and he comes back, and he said, how the hell did you figure that out? I said, because the information you gave me, I said, stop. You're giving the book away. Stop.
That's funny.
Well, they get caught up in the conversation, and they forget, first of all, there's a lot of people listening, and you just, and you want to sell it, but if you sell it too hard, you're not selling anything because people aren't going to go buy it now. Yeah. So I try to guide them on things like that because, it's amazing when even really famous hosts come on and do it. They just get caught up in the conversation. And I'm a no good sucker sometimes because a lot of times when I'm talking to people, it seems like we're just having a phone conversation and people get off guard. And I'm not actually meaning to do that, but I want to, yeah. Yes. So, and then you never know when I might go in that coon-ass accent, which just confuses altogether. It's a lot of fun. I just, but my job is really here to help people sell books, get people interested in it. I don't make any money off of this. Yeah. But I want to see authors get out there and make it. I had messed myself up at 18. I took a speed reading course, and I was reading novels like Well, you lose half the book when you take a speed reading course. Yeah, I mean, really, I didn't realize it either. And I'm like, that book made no sense. What? So I go back and read it at a slower pace. I'm missing just, sentences and pieces. And you'd be surprised how some of them little words make a difference in the outcome of the book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, there's a famous translation of the Bible called the Wicked Bible because it left out one word, which is in the 10 Commandments. This is like in the 17th century. In the 10 Commandments, in the commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, it left out the word not. So
that's a crucial word.
There was a printing of I think of the King James. Yeah, it was like 1680 or something.
No,
thou shalt commit adultery. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point, Joe, that little words matter. But I'd love to talk more about ARC and connect it to, like, there's a lot that's been going on in the market in the last 10, 20 years that has to do with what we're out talking about, what we're after. But if authors are listening, we have an urgent thing we have to tell them, okay? Which is that we have a prize. We have a contest. It is the ARC prize, and you've got 7 weeks still, so you're still in time to possibly win it. And the award, the winner gets a publishing contract with a $10,000 advance. So it is worth going after. And you can see details on our website. Our website is arc.press. It's a super simple website, so you'll see there's only 2 pages. But let me tell you what the details are. The deadline is National Taco Day, which, as we all know, is October 7th, the first Tuesday of October, which this year is the 7th. So,
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I know it was in your calendar already, but anyone who wasn't already aware. So you got about 7 weeks. It's a novel writing contest, so you got to turn in a novel. So the minimum length is, and I don't know that we're going to be dogmatic about this, but we've said 50,000 words.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So it can be shortish. Like, we think about this in terms of NaNoWriMo, right? You guys know the National Novel Writing Month, the idea that in November, people try to write a novel in the month of November. And the target for that is 50,000 words. Okay, so we're taking that as our unit, right? So 50,000 word novel. Here's the key thing. The theme of your novel is America 2076. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
And really, that's it. That's the whole thing.
That could be interesting.
Fiction doesn't have to. It could be a fantasy novel. It could be a thriller. It could be lots of stuff.
Could be historical fiction in advance.
It totally could be.
That could be near now sci-fi, which is one of my favorite things to read.
I have said to people, look, it could be about a prophecy of Nostradamus about what's going to be happening in America in 2076. Right. It doesn't have to be said. It just, that's the theme. America 2076. You interpret it. Okay. So we're getting entries in. I saw we got more entries in this morning. So, but you got 7 weeks. So you got to be reasonably fast, but you don't have to be lightning fast to write a 50,000 word manuscript in 7 weeks. You can do it. Again, our website, arc.press, is the details are there, but it's what I just told you.
Right. And that's ark.press.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll mention it on the next show too. I just wrote it down so I won't forget.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, this is great. This was something Tony Daniel really wanted to do was this prize, and I think I said on this last podcast I was on, if Orson Scott Card wants to enter it, we would be happy to take a look at his manuscript. So the point is, it is not a first novel prize or anything, right? You can be published, you can be a bestseller. If you want to send it to us, great. It would be cool if it was a first novel or a third novel, and we kind of find an undiscovered talent, but that's not a requirement. The other thing we've said is, we may get 2 books that are great. One of them will win, but that doesn't mean we could make an offer on the other one too, just to buy it for part of the press. So I think it's cool. 7 weeks is plenty of time to write 50,000 words, really. I think, a lot of people say, they don't like a theme because, well, then what am I going to do with it if I don't win? Well, we kind of made is pretty vague.
Yeah.
In hopes that this is not like right. We tried to make it not so constricting that you're going to have a book that you can do nothing with, even if you don't make.
Although I'll tell you an interesting story, by the way. So when I read K.W. Jeter's book Morlock Nights, I thought, man, this book is brilliant because not only is it a sequel to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, it's also a sequel to Tim Powers' novel, The Drawing of the Dark. Because in Tim Powers' novel is about the reincarnation of King Arthur fighting at the Siege of Vienna. And Morlock Nights is about the reincarnation of King Arthur trying to liberate future London from the Morlocks. I was like, this is genius. Well, it turns out the reason that this book exists is because there was a publisher back in like the 70s that was in fact proposing to do a line of books that were all about reincarnated King Arthur. And so these guys, Blaylock, Jeter, and Powers, who were all friends in a writing group, they all wrote a King Arthur novel to send to this publisher, who then changed his mind, didn't do it. And so the question is, what did they do with that novel they'd written? Well, they just went and they all published them.
Right. So that's even a much like more narrow thing, and those books got published. So
yeah,
don't fret. You will be able to sell your American 2076 novel. Well, I'm not saying you will.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with 2076. I mean, there's all kind of things you can open up in there.
Yeah. The other thing is if you're a writer, then you write. So
yes,
what's the big deal, right?
Yeah, 7 weeks. That's about 1,200 words a day. So that's,
oh my gosh,
five pages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're
we
a
believe
writer,
in you. Yeah,
you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been announcing this since February. So if you were listening to us in February, you had like 7 or 8 months, right? Now
they have more time.
yeah, but sorry, it is what it is. You got 7 weeks till National Taco Day.
Right. And I got to put in a little plug here for Writers of the Future, because you're talking about our judges for our contest. Orson Scott Card is one of our judges for the contest, and
Tim Powers.
Tim Powers is one of our judges for the contest. So anyway, and that was one of the things when you soon as you said a contest, I went gulp. You know, those Writers of the Future is a contest also. It's a
really important.
But it's like the other side of the volume. It's like you want somewhere around 50,000 words, and I think our top. You have to look at the rules of the contest. I think it's 17,000 is tops for, and it's basically a short story that's science fiction, fantasy, historical fiction, and light horror.
And it's run quarterly, right? Writers
run quarterly, yeah. We put out the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future, where we've just put out volume 41 in this past April, and we have winners for volume 42 already, which we'll put out either this April or May, and I don't know the exact publication date, but I know we already have winners. I'm already doing publicity for them, so that's so I know that.
Well, and I'm sure people who listen to this know about Writers of the Future, but I'll just say, I've known several people who've won or come close, and they've all just talked about how instrumental that was in their writing careers, and what a great thing that you guys do and have been doing for years and years, and how important that is.
It's a very cool thing.
This genre that we all work in, and all love. So
I would hope. I mean, I think our soft intention, our non-committal intention, is that we'll have an ARC prize again next year, and it'll be a theme, right? I mean, next year is 2026, which is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, right?
That's right.
The theme is 2076, which is the 300. But I think if we do the contest next year, the theme might be something else, right?
And it's probably not going to be 2077.
Which would be a sequel to what you wrote the year before.
Everybody just keeps replacing the date of and by the way, it does not have to be a date. I mean, that's the way we kind of conceived of it. But
right.
You can do something else with that number, right?
What if it's the license plate of the Secret Service vehicle in your truck, right?
Yeah,
It could be a lot of things.
The tail number of the plane that.
Yes, I could see a lot of ways to go with that. Just a lot of ways.
American Airlines Flight 2076, right?
Right. The password to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the contest. Arc, man, there's so why are we doing this? There's a lot of interesting dynamics in the market in recent years, right? So part of in addition to the fact that it's easier to self-publish than ever, right? Not only does that, one side of that is new writers can get in easy and self-publish. And let me repeat, right? There's a beautiful side to that, right? I'm not describing a horrible situation. I'm describing a complicated scenario with upsides and downsides, right? But another aspect, another result of the low cost of entry, anybody can publish a book, is nothing ever goes out of print either, right? So it's not, it used to be the case that basically there were the books in the bookstore. And if you got a book in the bookstore, you were competing against the other books in the bookstore. That's not it anymore, right? You're competing against everything that was ever written. Because once it goes out of copyright, someone is making an ebook out of it and putting it up instantly. AI is going to make this accelerate. Right.
Wow, that's interesting.
And they don't have to, once things are out of copyright, they don't have to invest in a warehouse. They don't have to invest in owning stock. You just have to create that file and put it up on Amazon, right? So this is a paradise for readers, and also it's a paradise for if you have a like an idiosyncratic. You have a beautiful thing you need to say. You have a beautiful story you have to tell, and you just can't convince any publisher to co-invest with you. You don't need it anymore, right? You can go out by yourself and take your message to the world, and that's a beautiful thing, right? That's a beautiful thing.
Meaning self-published, right?
Meaning self-published, like artisanal self-published storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, does this mean that we are living in a golden age of artisanal self-publishing? Well, no, we're living in a flood tide of mastodon porn because that's also empowered by this, right? So it's a complicated scenario. By the way, also that like the fact that reading options multiply and channels multiply means that the market is fragmenting and people are. The paradise aspect is readers and viewers can choose exactly what they want. The problem is we're losing canon, right? Less and less is it the case that we have all read the same books or watched the same movies or even used the same media, right? Some people are movies and streaming people, and some people consume everything on TikTok or as, YouTube shorts, right? So, on top of all of that, right? On top of all of that, in publishing, in the last decade or so, we've seen a real move away from men as readers. And there's been a lot of stories in the news this year about this. But you don't need to read the news. You can walk into a bookstore and walk into a sci-fi fantasy section and go, where did all the spaceship battles go? And the sword duels and like why do all these books have like flowers on the covers? Why does everything look like it's been written for women? And the answer is because increasingly it all has. And you can go down the lists of publishing imprints and see how many of them are entirely staffed by women and how many literary agencies are entirely staffed by women. There's you don't have to assume malicious intent here. It's just happened, right? So men aren't reading, arguably, because we haven't created books they want to read. Right?
Interesting.
So that's the thing. We've also had a sort of a politicization of speech and an effort to
a sort of.
You had a
No.
massive.
But you got something else that most people don't think of anymore. You have the podcast, which now there are millions and millions.
Yeah, that
And
was
some of them are just doing storytelling. That's what some of them do. So not only do you not have to read, you can sit and listen, drink a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine. It's a little different. It's definitely different than what I grew up with. I mean, it's kind of. I own the damn station. It's still kind of different for me. You know, it's. And some of our hosts, I got to say, are damn good storytellers. They're scared of bejesus if you're sitting there listening to them. It's and
Joe,
they can do it. They can do it like a weekly thing. Okay, man.
I take the rise of podcasts as a good thing, because
It
I
is.
think one of the things I worry about is the shortening of attention spans, because so many of the media that we have consumed over the 20th into the 20th century have gotten shorter and shorter. MTV videos, and you know that you get down to like Vine videos that are 8 seconds long or whatever, right?
Well, that's the biggest. That's the biggest selling thing right now on any TikTok, YouTube, Facebook is 15-second clips.
Yeah, well,
It
exactly.
tells you where your extensions right there. I mean, it's hell. I watch my wife on TikTok.
Or TED Talks, right? People think that listening to a 20-minute TED Talk is all you need to learn to master a subject, and that's like the most egregious bullshit imaginable.
It is total bullshit.
Like the denial of slow knowledge, right? Knowledge that's hard to obtain. And so I love that you can get podcasts where somebody will say, I am going to just podcast about the history of Anglo-Saxon England. And then they can just go through like 500 episodes, right? Today, we're going to talk about the coinage in the realm of Alfred the Great. Today, we're going to talk about the succession.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want it, it's out there. Right. I mean, and most podcasters, because they like to talk, like to do at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of information. A lot of times it's good information. A lot of times it's shaky information, but still, it's good.
By the way, this is another piece of the scene, right? Is a real crisis of authority, because we're in an age where we've seen so many of our authorities, whether it's in news or academia or government, have just turned out to be abject liars.
Oh God, have they?
And
some of that,
that's Carolyn just wrote in. She said 27-6, can it be the re-rise of Trump? I was like, I don't know if that's
Trump,
sweetie.
If you want to send me a story, Trump jar and a brain, I'll read it.
That was kind of funny. But you see, at least they got a sense of humor about themselves. It's the country's definitely changing. The way we get our information has definitely changed. You know, if you ever tune into us on Friday night, you'll hear a lot of people writing in. We only get our news from United Public Radio because we do news. We do opinions in the second hour, but the first hour is just the news, just for you to figure out on your own. We'll give you the story for what the story is. We'll do all the research for you. We usually have about 30, 40 people researching. Mm-hmm. We'll hand you the story. And you can decide on your own. And then if you want to listen in the second hour when we're doing our opinions on whatever the story was. And what's good about this station is I'm a centrist. 2 of my hosts are Republicans. 2 of my other hosts are liberals. Awesome. A nice, well-balanced thing. You know, sometimes we get in some good arguments. Sometimes it's a really good session. Sometimes all 5 of us agree, which that should give you a damn heart attack right there.
Yes, you got to watch out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does show there is a willing to cooperate. But when you get on, it doesn't matter what media you turn it, whether you're Democrat or Republican, when you watch what I call fed to you media, it's rarely correct and it's always got an agenda to it. We're not pushing 100%. An agenda. There's nothing, since we're not making money off it, there's no push for an agenda. There's no need for the agenda. We just want to tell you what it is. And then we get a lot of people write to us, oh, thank you. It's regular news. And I had been on NBC about 6 months ago, and I brought it up, and the guy's like, I'm not kidding you. He looked at me like, what do you mean you do real news? I said, well, come listen, and you'll see what I'm talking about. and he's like, I don't understand. I said, well, you're a leftist, Fox is a righty. I said, don't matter which one of y'all leave, you're just the opposite of each coin. I said, it's irritating. I said, I need to know, is somebody going to actually drop a nuke on my head or not? I don't need to know that, somebody took a poop somewhere. It doesn't help me any. It's so it works out really well for us. And most people are really happy with it. And and let me tell you what, I think it's the mainstream news that drove me to be a centrist. I mean, I started out as a Democrat. Then I tried the Republican. I was like, this is not working for me. So I said, well, and I was going to be an independent, but then they're kind of wishy-washy. So I said, I'm just going to be a centrist, and we'll take it for what it is. There's
a really interesting political kind of phenomenon today where at the radical left and the radical right wings, we're starting to get agreement on stuff, which is creating a whole new center, right? Yeah. And this is like, for example, I think that this is with respect to foreign policy and the role of the United States in the global stage. I think that it's coming out of both right and left wings. There's an idea that says we can't solve everybody's problem. We can't be everybody's daddy anymore. Our sons and our brothers can't be the ones who are always getting sent off to keep peace somewhere.
It's not our job.
Enough. And that didn't come out of like the Washington, D.C. Democrats or Republicans, right?
You bring it up. It's funny. I was listening to the head of the EU talk a couple of days ago, and she said, this feels liberating now. She said, we're going to start building our own defense. We're going to be paying our own bills. NATO's going up. And no, she wasn't talking about just NATO. She was talking because each part of the EU now is going to be working on their own defense and NATO. So because NATO is just not enough on its own, so they need both. And the woman said, you know what, for the first time, we won't have to rely on the United States. Within 10 years, we won't have to rely on them. They'll be like the big brother. And if we get real trouble, they can come back us up. But most of the time, because if it's a war in Europe, it has nothing to do with us.
Right. And for 80 years, the whole world has been sheltering under this American umbrella. And like the grass,
I liked
both sides won't have it.
I liked what they did. The president of France, he was talking shit about taking the Statue of Liberty back. And I forgot who it was. Some politician said, well, let's think what you owe us since World War II, and then we compound it with a 15% interest. He said, that comes out to $160 trillion. So that means we could pay off all of our debt, build our military up, and give everybody in our country $1 million and still have money to put in the bank. All of Europe just went quiet after that. It was just like, because they actually owe us the money. We just never pushed them for it. We keep giving them money, but Europe is our closest allies, and some are closer than others. But still, I read today that Germany has built a space plane, a fighter space plane. I was like, wait a minute, Germany, you're only supposed to have a peacekeeping force. You're not supposed to have what's going on here.
This is the great specter, right? It's
crazy.
Germany has this track record.
A bad one too. 2 world wars is bad.
Yeah, but even before that,
they were war.
Bismarck, this is a world we're gonna have to accept that Germany, just like everybody else, is gonna need to have an army.
They under the treaty they can only have a peacekeeping force, and the United States would have to get off the treaty for them to get to actually build the military. But you know what? They don't need to, because guess what? We got parked over there. We have 15 tactical nukes parked in Germany.
Yep,
Germany controls. Oh yeah, that was a smart idea. I don't know whose idea that was. That was just.
You watch. I think Germany's going to end up having to have their own military. I don't think
they will.
They'll conquer anybody.
Now it's going to be different in Europe. It'll be a little bit more balanced now, except for Egon, because his wife keeps bitch slapping him. So I don't know what we're going to do about that one. But.
Well, in Germany, it's going to be a Turkish country pretty soon too. So
yes, man. It's. I want to see Europe do good, because if Europe does good, we do well. But I've been saying this for a long time. We don't need to support them.
Yeah, we
have our own country to worry about. We have our own kids to get back into literacy. We have our own people we need to be teaching. I mean, America slipped from way up like first or second in literacy down to somewhere around 40th. I mean, we shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
it's not where we should be. We should be much higher than that. Our educational system's dropping down. I mean, and now it's getting kind of disjointed and stuff. We need to be a balanced country. And we need to take care of ourselves and then take care of everybody else.
And again, I think those are grassroots ideas on the left and the right. And
it is
things that they would disagree about, but there's a new center that's being created outside of Washington, D.C., which is super
you're starting to see it now. What you started to really see is the centrist red and the centrist blue have got together and said, you know what? the right and left are crazy. So maybe we should be thinking about something new. But Elon Musk said he wants to start his own party. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
It feels like that fizzled already, didn't it?
Oh, you think? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave. I kind of with you on this, but somebody the other day was pushing it again. I said, I don't know. I like Elon for some things, but politics he should stay out of. Build cars, build rockets, take us to Mars. Elon, that's your calling. Leave the rest of it out for the crazies, man. Because I tell people all the time, being a centrist makes me an equal opportunity hater. So that ain't both sides.
So look, this is like the universe into which ARC is coming into being, right? So like what? So what are we doing? Why? What is the point of us existing? So first of all, we don't want to just be offering print services or editing services. ARC is a thing. ARC has its own personality. Okay.
Which it should.
Which we want to reach male readers. We're working on books. David said this. We've got literary fiction. Okay. He's talking about there's a novel we're publishing called The Pickle Factory, which is a literary send-up of the CIA as a bureaucratic organization written by a former CIA officer, right? It's like or something. Right, it's a freaking literary novel. We're also putting out Larry Correa's next series, which is about Larry's this fantastic. He said something like, his father at one point said something to him like Larry's father said something like, the reason why we have so many problems in the world is because there aren't enough good men willing to go to jail to fix them. Okay, so this is a story. It's kind of back to his Monster Hunter International roots. It's about a guy named Mike Spears who is a gun guy, who is a Rocky Mountain West kind of vigilante dealing with supernatural stuff, like a Repairman Jack kind of thing, right? So we want to reach the male reader, not exclusively. Right, we hope that women will like those books too, but we're not going to publish romance novels. There's enough of that. Okay.
Yeah, there's enough of that.
Yeah, and
we would be bad at it too.
What was that, David?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but
we don't know. We're not that market. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I think. I don't know, Dave. What were you? I'm going to
So we're trying to like put together we're not in one genre. It's all kinds of genres that we think men will be interested in reading. And how are we going to sell that, man? What a great question. We're not sure. But one thing we're trying to do is make ourselves knowable. So we have a YouTube channel. It's called the Gopher Wood Lounge, right? So more than a year before any books come out, we started recording YouTube videos, podcast stuff, right? Because we're trying to get people to know us, get a sense of like what we like, get them in dialogue with us. We're very active on X for the same reason, right? Mm-hmm. So that we can have like what we'd like to do is people be like, oh, well, that's David and Dave and Tony. I kind of know what they like, and I read the Larry book. I really liked it. I'm going to give this CIA novel a try. I don't know, man. Sounds funny. I've never read a literary novel or since I left school, but the bit that David was talking about made me laugh. Right. So we want funny book. It is very funny. We don't want to be gatekeepers, but we want to like build a center around ourselves that's like a community and a conversation out of which books can come.
Right. Is the CIA novel fiction?
Yeah, so it's fiction.
Or is it fiction? But
it is for the purposes of national security. It's
written as fiction.
It is based on his experience.
Okay.
But it is very much Confederacy of Dunces or Catch-22 kind of thing, where it's just like, this guy comes in out of the field back into headquarters, and it's just like, I cannot believe the stupidity. What is it? The tagline we're probably going to use, and this was from the author, was like, the real secret is that the CIA is full of nincompoops or something, right? Like, the real national secret or whatever, right?
Wow.
We're really looking, that'll be next year. Yeah, so I mean, I've kind of said this in maybe it works as an analogy or not. I kind of want to think of us as like the film distributor A24, right? Who does, I mean, gosh, now I'm going to name wrong movies, right? But they're all over the place. They're independent. There are comedies, there's science fiction, there's horror, there's dramas, right? But they're very disparate, but they've really developed.
They did Heretic and they did Midsummer, and they got an Adam Sandler film, Uncut Gems.
Right. So they're all over the place, but they do have this like core like fan base that people are like, man, I trust those people that the movie is going to be good. Like, and maybe not every movie, I didn't really love Midsummer, whatever, right? But like, is for you. And obviously there's people who have no idea who A24 is, who might or might not like any one of their movies. I mean, we don't expect people to religiously follow Arc Press, right? But we do want to have it where if you are paying attention, that you can trust us, and that in some ineffable way the books make sense together, right? And and we have toyed with this idea of doing something like book club subscription kind of thing, that people would be like, heck yeah, I trust those guys. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be a fantasy, it might be science fiction, it might be spy thriller, but there's a good chance I'm going to like it, and there's a good chance that they're going to feel of a piece. And I think, with the books we've got so far, I think we're really headed that way, that direction. So
cool.
Yeah, I think we're developing an interesting kind of aesthetic visually too. Let's see, if I put a JPEG in the chat, can I share that with you guys? I probably can't.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Hold on.
Ask Joe.
Yeah, you can share it with. If I ever get back to screen, I'll make sure you're doing it. But
it doesn't want me to do it.
Hold on a second. Let me come back. So it should let you. I'm not sure why. Let me get back on that screen.
I was in the private chat here. Let me get in the public chat. Maybe.
Get in the public. Yeah. Well, you can actually share it to the screen if you want, to the main screen with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Share screen. Do image file.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. And pull it up there.
Okay. So just for example, one of the things we're doing here, starting this, let's see. So can you guys see that?
Not seeing anything.
So it's uploaded, but it's showing to me as like it's in the studio.
Maybe Joe has to.
Joe might have to pull it in.
Allow it.
Okay. It looks like we've lost Joe, so he'll come back. Maybe.
Okay.
So one of the first things that we're coming to market with is we're going to kickstart deluxe edition of Larry's book one in his series, American Paladin, about this kind of monster fighting vigilante. And I love the covers we've got set up. We got a tie-in graphic novel, so we'll kickstart the deluxe edition. The regular edition we'll have out, with the rest of our books next spring. But there's a deluxe edition and a graphic novel people can get this by Christmas. But my point is, I think we're developing. People can't see this yet, but I think we're developing an aesthetic sense, which I'm pretty excited about. Which has like a little bit of a kind of Joe, I don't know if you're able to share. There's an image I put in the studio.
So if you want to share, look, there should be a little like a television box with a little plus in it.
Yeah.
If you click on that, it'll bring you to your computer. You can pull it right off your computer. And
so that's what I did. And I've done it twice now. What it does, it puts an image in the studio.
Yeah, it puts it right up here with us. So once you get it on the thing, you'll hit, it'll come up in the studio, and all you got to do is hit, I'll do it for you. I think you just hit add.
There it is. Yeah. So like this is what they call the hero image for the Kickstarter.
Okay.
And so you can see the graphic novel on the left there. By the way, fun fact, that's not the original cover art.
Oh wow. The
original cover art had the guy pointing his gun at you, the viewer, but it turns out that if you do that, Amazon won't let you run ads.
Yeah.
So we rotated him.
Oh, okay.
but and then the one in the center is I think the correct me if I'm wrong here.
That's
Dave.
the trade.
That's the trade. The
trade
standard
art.
edition
Yeah.
will come out, and the one on the right is the deluxe, which is going to have really nice paper. It's going to have some other fun features like some UV printed elements. So you'll get a UV flashlight if you buy the deluxe book and you shine it on it, and you can see hidden information. But also,
you mean like in print?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's I think the phrase that we're going to use in Kickstarter is that there'll be a signed title page that will have been kinetically altered by Larry Correa. And the ejected brass casing of the machine he used to kinetically alter each page will come with your book.
Genetically altered.
So
That's like a 762 by 51.
yeah, a kinetic alterer of pages. Yes, correct. So I like where we're going with visual aesthetic too. Right, is my point. Like it's a little. I don't know if you're familiar with Larry at all, if you've seen his art, but it's
No.
His past covers are very kind of classic 80s fantasy art, right? And that sort of Baen has continued to do into the present day with a cool painting, right? A scene. For my money, I think these are the best looking covers Larry's ever had, and I like his other covers, right? I love that we're doing this. I like the visual aesthetic. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if we can just be allowed to just shamelessly plug something.
Plug away.
Oh,
man. That's
everyone,
what we're here
yes,
for.
please do go to the Kickstarter. Actually, I think it is now searchable that there's a preview page
On
on
Kickstarter.com.
Kickstarter now. We haven't like officially announced it.
I think that's right, but there's a preview page up.
But so the book is American Paladin. And you can go to Kickstarter. Yep, there it is. And it will be launching September 9th. We chose to do this for a couple of reasons. I think maybe we can address this real quick.
Sure.
Some people have asked, well, you guys are a publisher. You got funding. Larry's a big name. Why don't you just print these? And the answer is we absolutely could. And really the way to think of this Kickstarter, I think, when Kickstarter started, it was sort of like scrappy guys in their bedrooms trying to, this was what it was for, right? Who didn't have money, and this was a way to get their cool idea out there. And I think it's still for that a lot, and I think that's great. I think now, and for us, it has sort of more, it's really a pre-order page, right? Because we are new, and so we want to get the word out and find ways for people to hear about these. And we could put them up on our website, but it's going to get a lot more eyeballs on Kickstarter, right? A lot more people check Kickstarter, check art.press, although you should check art.press out.
Well, I'll tell you what, too, put any links you have in the on the messenger thing over here.
Okay,
and not
yeah.
the private one with the other ones. Because what it'll do is it'll go out to all 8 of the things connected to this today. But when
Okay.
I switch over later, it's going to go out to 16 different venues.
Okay.
And then when we post the other archives up, it'll also be on there too. So we don't. That way it gets way more attention, or way more people will see it that way. We'll put
Yeah.
it like
Okay.
that.
Great. Yeah. Would love to do. Let me pop it in here. But so this is.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Continue. Anyway, so this is having trouble connecting. Dave, maybe you can try it.
Yeah, I put the link in there for the to get signed up for
Kickstarter,
when we
yeah.
go live. But let me find the.
But y'all had it in the private. Let me pull it out of there, and we want it in the comment section that way.
Oh, okay, got it.
Watch what happens when I hit this. You're going to just see a bunch of screens go by. Give it a second. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, see, different venues were on. It's going to just go by that way. It'll also go over to our new Rumbles feed, and it'll go over to our Pal Talk feed and stuff like that. That way, people get. It's funny, but I've learned over the years, different places have different audiences.
For
Like
sure.
a Pal Talk feed is mostly guys, and it's mostly guys with say between 28 and 50, who are looking for something to keep them out of trouble. Lack of a better way of saying it. And a good book would do that. And one of the bitches, when I first brought both these author shows on here, because John's got his show on here, it aired an hour before this one, and so we got John Goodwin with whatever guest he's got on it, which is usually authors, sometimes it's illustrators. Then we have Echo Turnick, who is an illustrator and one of the judges for Writer of the Future. She's after his show, and then we have this show. And somebody said, well, that's crazy. You're going to have that's all the same thing. I said, yes, but they're all doing different guests for different times. And I said, you'd be surprised how many people are looking for something to read or look at. There's a lot of the guys I know have been bitching lately that there isn't really much for them to read. And then there's a lot of people like me who like the near now sci-fi, and there's really none of that anymore.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of it, but now there seems to be a very little bit of it. And the few that manage usually get turned into some kind of TV series.
Yeah.
I just, I like stuff that I know is going to be good. It's stuff that's going to get my imagination going. And I don't really need something that's 5,000 years from now. I'd rather settle for something closer to time. Well, I mean, then it becomes fantasy sci-fi for me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, once you get a certain distance, it's no longer it's fantasy, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm not hating, but I would prefer something that's closer to the times, politically and technologically, to where we are today. It'll catch my interest much better. I know a lot of people like me out there, so or TV series like The Expanse and Star Trek or Babylon 5 wouldn't do as well as they did. So there's a need for it now, though. There's just not much of it.
Yeah.
Now, all the carbon was good, but it wasn't anybody under 50.
Yeah, Joe, did you see The Expanse?
Oh yeah, I watched all 6 seasons of it. Yeah.
Okay, so did I. Yeah,
one of the seasons where it was kind of slow, but all the rest of them were pretty good. And there was some scenes in there technologically which were fabulous. There was a lot of good stuff in there. Altered Carbon is really a good. If you can get past the cursing and the sex, it's a really good. It's a really good science fiction series, and it's all about living forever basically, because they figured out a way to put a chip in your head, and when you die, they can take it out and put it into another body. Which, by the way, is something Boeing's actually working on. Right. So it's not even that far out of our technology. But then, unfortunately for them, they just. I mean, Captain America's in there. The new Captain America was in there, naked as it could be, the whole time. The first guy was in there. I know he was famous out too, naked as could be. I mean, I'm like, guys, I don't need sex to watch sci-fi.
Not everybody's up for that. Yeah,
I said you're doing damage to a really good show. I mean, just let it go.
Right. I was asking about The Expanse because I had talked to Kevin Anderson about it. He said he was really a big fan of that too, and just
a good fan. But see, that's another one I almost didn't watch because the first 3 episodes they're floating around doing the wild thing. I'm like, I've always had a rule: within the first 20 minutes I'm seeing tits and ass, I usually don't want to watch it. But in The Expanse, I went ahead and watched the first series, and it turned out to be much better than I thought it was going to be. And same thing with Altered Carbon; it turned out to be much. The sci-fi is very solid in both series, but
Right. I remember Dave Farland talking about that too, when he was talking about when he was the coordinating judge for Writers of the Future. He's passed away now. He's one of your Utah people there. And but he said, in those stories, when he gets the short stories, it's like, you got to grab me in like the first page or two. Otherwise, it's
the same thing with the contest for Rise of the Future. If you don't grab them judges in the first 3 or 4 pages, you that's it. You're not going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, they've got a lot of stuff to read. There's a lot of people submitting, and you've got it. And it's the same for most people. I mean, if I start reading something or listening to something, if we're 15 minutes or 30 minutes in, and I'm like, no, that's it. I'm not going to watch it. And unless one of my friends come along and say, Joe, this. When they got to here, they were pretty good. I might go back and look, but other than that, I'm not going to. And
right. What
the judge a cover for a book? I'm just telling you ahead of time.
Right. What do you guys, David and Dave? What do you think of that? Because now you guys are looking at much longer word counts.
Yeah.
And how fast does it have to grab you there?
Yeah, pretty fast. So Tony Daniel brought this thing over. So Tony worked at Baen for many years, and then he left and worked in nonfiction. And so he has brought this kind of thing over from nonfiction for us. We're calling it a treatment. He doesn't like for me to say it's basically a synopsis and a query letter, but it kind of is. But and that we've kind of asked people to do because there are good manuscripts that start 3 chapters in, the story really starts, right? And we don't want to reject that if it's like if chapters 3 through 50 are amazing, we'd be bummed just right, you didn't start your story in the right place. So we are asking people to like send this to us because it lets us see an overview of like the story, right? And like, man, this seems like pretty cool. And then you realize, like, wait a minute, though. Yeah, it starts at chapter 5. Let's just lop that off and go, right? I mean, man, many such cases, as the phrase goes. Like, so many authors start too early.
That's why Dean Wesley Smith says, take a chunk of the end and put it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that way people will be, and after way, if it slows down, but something's coming.
Yeah.
So you can read through it.
So there's all kinds of technique. But, especially I think, kind of the phrase I've heard always is you got to write your way into it, right? As an author, you've got to kind of ease into the world. And I think that's a perfectly valid way to write. You just want to be sure that you, on an editing,
get rid of the ramp you use.
You get rid of the ramp you use to build the pyramid? Yes. Question mark? We don't know. Anyway,
if there was a ramp.
If there was a ramp, yeah. Anyway, so that and then the novel, and I think so. This is the problem I see, is that when you say things, and I think it's accurate. Like, man, a book has got to grab you real fast, and it's got to not let go, right? But when people hear that, they often then take it to mean, oh, so I've got to just open with a fight scene, or I've got to open with explosions, and like maybe like that's a perfectly valid way to do it. But it doesn't mean that. I mean, you can open with a description if the writing is strong enough and captivating enough. You can open with.
I've seen some with some really good character building in the first.
Sure.
Right.
And that's enough for me. I mean, I'm seeing, okay, I don't know what's actually going on yet, but the characters seem like they're going to be solid characters. It's enough.
And the voice of the author.
Yes.
You.
Yeah.
And that's, man, I say this again. People say, I mean, I think early on, me and Dave were talking about this as we were kind of thinking about ARC. And people say things like the story is story trumps everything else, right? If you got a good story, or you got, and I think, man, really stories like the actual bare minimum is what I would say, right? The story and the characters, I think that's sort of like, if you don't have that, then just forget it. And really, it's the stuff on top, above that. And I don't mean above it as in it's better or more important or whatever, but, there can be decent story, but if you don't have an authorial voice that is captivating, it's kind of worthless. I mean, it's not worthless, but it's not going to do much, right? Or if you don't have characters that people care about inhabiting this story, And so I think, again, it's very important. You do have to grab people so early in the book with a book.
Unless you're really famous, you might get away. Because Loretta was saying, what if it's Orson Scott Card? Well, Scott, you're going to probably give Scott a little break.
But this is the thing, right? And this is, I think, man, someone said this. Anyway, so the point being, right, it's got to be fast, but it doesn't have to be fast with explosions, right? And in fact, man, a fight scene that I don't know who the people are or what they're fighting over is actually really pretty boring a lot of times, right?
Yep.
And I think people make a big mistake of being like, well, what are you talking about? They're locked in a fight to the death. It's like, yeah, but I don't care if either of them die.
I don't know.
I have no pony in this ride here. It's just.
No, I think the first chapter of Card's Alvin Maker is Alvin's family. He's a young boy. He's the. It's actually he's being born. His sister's point of view, and the family is traveling on a wagon, and it's in a rainstorm. And the oldest brother gets swept away in a flood, and the sister has the gift of second sight, and so the sister is the one who knows and then the mother goes into labor, and the sister is the one who knows that the oldest son, who was swept away in the flood, was hanging on and was not dead yet when the new child was born, making him a seventh son.
Wow.
And that's the first chapter, right? And like, it's not a fight scene, but like, man, this is all this drama and like this poignancy and this family stuff, and it's terrific.
Yeah,
Now,
and
it doesn't
so
finish the series, and right, but like that's a great book and it's a great start, and it's nobody shoots anybody.
There's lots of books where you don't have to blow stuff up, you don't have to kill somebody. You can it just has to be enough that you're going, well, this is sounding interesting. I mean, it's hard to write out the bat without giving the whole book away. So I mean, it's what makes a good writer. It's what makes a good author versus one that's just getting started. But well, no, Gene, I said the same thing. People like Scott and Kevin J. Anderson and Tim Powers, you're going to give that book a break because they're good writers, and
Right.
someone on that book that's going to get good. So you may give them, all right, well, the beginning kind of sucks, but you may go ahead and let the book go because somewhere in that book it's going to get good. But a new writer, it's a lot harder. When I pick up a book to somebody I don't know, I'm kind of like, do I want to even go through this? Is this something I want to be involved with? It's like when John gave me Mission Earth. I said, John, I'm not reading 10 books. You can forget it. So he goes, all right, I'm sending you the audio version. It took me a year, people, to go through this audio version. Well, the main reason why is there were some really good characters in it. And they got all the sound effects and buzz. So I got like 4 books in, and then I quit for a little while. And then I forgot, so I had to go back to at least 2 of the books and come back. So by the time I got done, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. The characters were fantastic. I can't remember his name. Did a lot of the voices, and he did the bad guy. What's his name? The guy who did the radio thing this year. I should know his damn name.
Right. I know you're talking about. I can't think
Yeah,
of
he's
it
been on
right
the show like 3 times, but he's very famous.
Jim Meskimen?
Yeah, Jim Meskimen.
Okay.
And so I mean, he was captivating. Even with the story, it got a little slow. His voice and the way he presented it was still captivating. So he kept me listening. And by the time I listened to a book, all 10 of them, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, if you'd told me to sit down and read 10 books, I don't know. As good as they were, I got to be honest. I think a lot of the special effects and sound things inside the audiobook kind of kept me going. Yeah.
Right. I read the 10 books myself. So that's what we're talking about is L. Ron Hubbard's Mission Earth. And I remark on it now that there's a part where in the very beginning where L. Ron Hubbard goes into great detail about satire and just the whole history of satire and how it comes about and the purpose and everything. And I say, when he wrote this, I say it was written as a satire, but today it's a documentary.
Yeah, it is. But that's the other thing. The first book, if I'd have been reading the first book and not listening to it, I don't know if I'd have made it past it. It was a little kind of slow. The character building was good. I don't want to take away from that. They had a lot of good characters in it. But the story itself was just kind of, at a plane, I guess I would say. And then by the time you hit book 2, it had started moving around a lot. They were flying in space. They were doing they weren't blowing nothing up. I mean, there was no blowing nothing. There was some nasty behind the backs kind of stuff going on, but I mean, there was no really explosions or anything like that. And it was for people who like to read. It was probably a great book to read. For people who like audiobooks, it's a much better audiobook to go through. So, and cool. I've gotten kind of spoiled to audiobooks now. So ladies and gentlemen, there's audiobooks and then there's audiobooks. There's a guy sitting there reading the story to you, which could be, if it's like Edward L. Jones or someone like that, it might be pretty good. But then there's audiobooks with the full sound effect and everything that goes along with it. All the different characters. Yeah. So,
it's interesting. The people. Here's the thing. We're talking to writers, so this is interesting. The real thing that you're trying to get out of the person you're pitching the book is not $20. It's the time to read the book.
That's right.
That's the real currency, is the time of their life. And so when they're looking at you and listening to you pitch the book, the question is it worth me? Do I think it's worth me spending, not $20, 20 hours, right? Or 3 hours or whatever, right? And that's a very different calculus. And also and this kind of comes back to ARC too, right? Because part of one of the reasons, one of the factors that goes into that calculation is the author, because readers usually are not just buying a discrete book. They're looking for a kind of relationship. They might not think of it like that, but they are, because they're like, well, this author has 20 books. Man, do I think this one sounds like it's worth my time as a potential gateway into spending 200 hours with this person?
Yep.
Oh, right.
Having this kind of
interesting viewpoint,
intimate telepathic conversation, right? And so, by the way, this is also what we're trying to do with ARC. This is why we have the Gopherwood Lounge up, and why David and I are always available to talk on podcasts, is we want people to get a sense of who is ARC. Is ARC some set of guys? Would I be interested in putting on wingtip shoes and a bowling shirt and going to a tiki bar with them? Right. And the answer is yes, you should do that. That would be a lot of fun.
Is that with your hair up in a bun?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's right now. You're right about earlier. There needs to be more material for men. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, guys don't need something blowing off right off the back. Trust me. When people see me when I'm not dressed like this, they're like, "Oh God, he looks like one of those guys might kill you." I don't need a bunch of blowing up stuff. Good character building is good for me. I want to know who the characters are so I can get into the book. As long as I got some kind of character giving me some idea who these characters are, it's a lot easier for me to adjust to read to the book. I can get to it better like that. I said, well, I know these pretty good characters. Something's going to come out of this. And what are you talking about, Linda? No, they don't. Guys aren't the same as they were 30 years ago. Don't get me wrong. A lot of guys don't. You can blow all day long. That's fine. But really, a lot of guys are looking for stories. They're looking for something that they can get involved in, that they can lose themselves. And just like women like to lose themselves in romance novels, guys like to lose themselves in whatever they're reading. And it's not necessarily you have to blow something. Like I said, when I was going through the other book, 10 of them, there wasn't nothing blowing up until the very end. So
that's true.
It's just
so. Joe, I wanted to ask these guys as writers, David and Dave, are you a plotter or a pantser?
Oh my God, he loves this question. He loves this question.
Yeah, because I hear this all the terminology with writers, and actually we had Rob Sawyer on last week, Robert J. Sawyer, and he introduced a third way of writing, and he called it a theme, putting a theme before the plot and before the just writing by the seat of your pants type thing.
Yeah. I've never written truly by the seat of my pants. I at least have some outline, and it might not be a very fulsome outline. It might be that I have sort of 4 sentences that I need to turn into a 15-page, 2 scenes chapter. But I usually don't start writing a book until I know basically what the ending is, and I know at least kind of what the first act is. And usually the way I work is I have an outline that I'm writing, staying ahead of the book that I'm the manuscript, right? The outline's a few chapters ahead of the manuscript until I kind of get to the end and close up. I have co-written books. How many books have I co-written now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with co-written novels. And when I've co-written the novel, I've got a very fulsome outline before we start writing, because there's different ways to co-write, but the way that I have done it is I've gone out with Aaron Ritchie or Mike Rothman or David West, who fully outlined the book, and then each of us has written, we've gone to our separate corners, each of us writes half the book, but not first half, second half. We each write, I write 2 chapters, then you write 2 chapters, and I write 3, then you write 1, and we go through and assign half the book out.
Oh, interesting.
And then you put the 2 halves together like this, and that only works if you got a pretty good outline,
Right.
or you're going to end up with massive gaps. And so I've done
Non sequiturs and things
Yeah.
like that.
I've
Oh.
never fully improvised a novel. I've improvised short stories, but a short story, I think, for me, a true short story is like basically one scene or maybe two scenes,
Mhm.
but never a novel. David, how about you?
Yeah. I say this always. I think there are people who are pantsers. Yeah.
I like how you said that.
Right. I mean, I think they say they are, and we have to believe them. I think everyone wants to be a pantser because they think it sounds easier, right? They think it doesn't sound like doing homework. And so everyone, I think a lot of when you're starting out writing, you may be young, maybe old, but when you're starting out writing, you think, that's me. I'm a pantser. I just let the words flow because that feels like it's going to be less work. What I think for most people is that and this is certainly true of my, files on my computers, right? You end up with a lot of 5 pages of something. You end up just making yourself crazy. I mean, and some people do this and they like doing it with the rewriting, right?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like, man, it sounds like, and now there are really people who are not that, right? And they are the real like pantsers. Like, I can sit down with an idea or an opening image and then go through. I mean, right? I think Lawrence Block he doesn't ever outline anything, who I love.
Wow.
And like, yeah, but that guy's written like 400 books. Okay.
So this is it, right? I think if you have written a lot, so you have a very strong learned sense of how do I just, as I sit down and write a scene, my intuition, my muscle memory is making sure the scene has tension at its core and it's driving me towards something. And the next one does too. That's one thing. I think a lot of people who just say, I'm going to write a novel, don't have that. And so they just get kind of meandering, kind of.
Yeah, a good friend. A good friend of mine put it well. He said, he just recently got an agent. Congrats. For his book, and like he did this where he rewrote that thing and rewrote it, and he did do some outlining and then but he put it well. He said, I started out with this idea and this thing, and I started writing, and it kept growing. But then he said, and then I got to, how did he put it? He's like, I got to a point where I had written a novel's length worth of words, so that must be a novel, right? And he's like, then I realized that's not a novel. That's just 100,000 words, right?
Right.
And so he's since gone back and totally scrapped everything and built it from the ground up. That's a lot of work. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to have some idea of what you're doing and to plan things out. And I think
it's almost like the pantsing created an outline or a plot.
Yeah, right.
Something.
Yeah, and so I think like a good way to think of it is like think of the outline. And by the way, I've never done, and I would be very hard to do like an ABC outline, I think, for me. But like, what was I going to say? Think of the outline as like is draft half maybe or something, right? Where it's instead of the first draft, it's like a half a draft, right? It's draft 0.5 or something. So that you have these and know the characters and stuff, and maybe the way you do that then is you write little scenes with them, and you can put those in the book. But I don't know. I've never had a ton of luck, as much as I've wanted to just sit down and write to the end.
Even if you wanted to just pants it, I think you should really understand how to outline, because that's the same thing as saying understanding what the structure of the book is. Yeah. And the fact that there are novels that are not structured does not mean that yours shouldn't be structured.
Yeah.
Right. Just like, because there are novels that are garbage. That doesn't mean your novel should be garbage. You should try to make your novel good.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's lots of them out there.
Yeah. So you should have a sense of like what is a novel structure? How does it? And guess what? Like that. Once you walk down that road, how is a novel structured? How do the parts fit your outlining? That's what you're talking about. How to make an outline.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think it's also important to be like, it doesn't have to be Save the Cat or there's all these different formulas. It doesn't have to be those. And in fact, sometimes I think those can lead to you be pretty formulaic.
Pretty obvious sometimes.
Pretty obviously what you're doing. And kind of bores people because of that, although not always. So we're not saying like follow a specific set of rules about it, but like,
although specifically the Save the Cat, the problem with Save the Cat is people often don't understand what to do with the big second middle act. And so you're like, okay, I got a good starting. I show my normal world. Here's my character. I get a statement of the theme. There's a crisis. My character makes a choice. And now half of the book has to go by and I don't really know what to do with it. And then it has to come to a crisis.
Yeah.
So I actually think Save the Cat is hurting some people because they're just they're big doughy middles.
Yeah. Anyway, but I do think having a sense of and to me, man, knowing who those characters are and what they want and that kind of thing. Short story is different, right? A short story, like Dave said, it's like one scene. I just think of it, and this is I think from Edgar Allan Poe. It's not like I made this up, but like right, it's like one idea for one effect. And so I think those you don't necessarily have to outline, but they're small enough you can hold them in your head. You're kind of effectively outlining it in your head.
Well, it's funny you said that because one of the things they do at the Writers of the Future is they do a 24-hour story. They make the writers do a 24-hour story. It amazes me how many of these stories get sold. Because I watch these kids. I shouldn't say kids because some of them are old Zion, but you're watching them down there and mezzanine. They've got cams. Tim Powell's always trying to get me to take pictures of them. They, you can just see half their heads want to explode. Some of them don't get it done till like 5 minutes before the lecture starts. It's insane, but yet the stories turn out pretty good, and they're able. I think they sell about 80% of them, which is amazing to me because you're stressed the entire time you're trying to write this story in 24 hours. I'd always say, I said, maybe go find some already written it. Maybe they haven't seen it before. I'd be cheating. A friend of mine yesterday asked me about the new Dune. He said, well, I know you know one of the writers on Dune. I said, I do. And I said, and I've actually met one of the other ones. And I said at the premiere, and I said, and as soon as I get a chance, I'll invite them back both onto the show. I said, but it's not coming out yet. There's no reason, until it gets close. There's no reason to harass the writers of the thing. And they're all doing something kind of different. It's like what you were talking about. One's writing this part, one's writing that part, one's writing that part. And then they're all getting together and kind of, putting it together somehow or another. So we're going to wait and see. I told somebody else the other day, I said, I'm going to hold my judgment until I see this thing. And yes, Jesse, that would be fantasy sci-fi because that's like in a whole nother galaxy and a whole nother future. Way, way, way far away from us, kind of like Star Wars.
Sort of reminds me. Yeah. I do think, though, that what you said about if I may, real quickly, about the 24-hour story, though, does get to something when we're talking about outlining and knowing structure, is there does come a point when that can become like a trap and you just do it forever. And like maybe you need to just start the book and know that things are going to change. And so,
I think they do that too. Go ahead.
You can get your look at all my I've got every character's backstory and all their and these physical descriptions and all the world building and all the plot and all the and you get all this out and you're just like, you just probably need to write this thing. Like
you do.
You kind of have to be aware of is this actually beneficial or is it just time to start going? And then I can.
Well, it's even like the novels. I mean, not novels. These stories in the book. Those are short stories. They're usually 5,000 or 6,000 words. They can be up to 17,000. They're usually 5,000 or 6,000. But I noticed a lot of them after they win and they get home, they get settled in. They'll go ahead and write the book. Like this one right here. This was a great story. Death of a Taxman. This is a great story. And when
With
you
a-
read it,
with a
when you read it-
great illustration too.
yeah, it was a great illustration. So when you read it in the Writers of the Future book, it was short. And this is the whole book. He went back and wrote it into a book. It's a great story. It's a lot of fun to read. It kind of carries you along. It's just a nice story. So I mean, people can take them, but I don't know if all writers have that imagination to do that. I think sometimes it's like 6,000 words was it. That's it. That's where the book needs to stop, or whatever you call them. It's not even a novelette. No, what the hell is that? 6,000 words. Anyway.
Short story. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
6,000-7,000.
not every story has enough material in it to expand like that, right?
Yeah, and it's not. A lot of times, the way it was written, you can't write anything else about it. It's just what you wrote was what you wrote. What's that, Denise? Yeah, all that's published, and I'll publish it again later, so y'all can find out where they're at. And well, I know they sound like a cool bunch of guys, so check them out. Oh, what she's saying, please write something. My husband needs something to read. Please, he's driving me crazy. Well, what's he working on your fifth baby? Damn it. Yeah, it might be time to give him a book if he's working on the fifth baby, baby. I'm just saying. Go buy some books and just read. It's but like I was saying earlier, guys don't the generation of guys coming out today are not the same as the guys coming out of the 50s and 60s. They were born on a different type of sci-fi. A different type of fantasy. So they're looking for stuff, but also all the other younger guys are looking for something good to read. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be sci-fi. It don't have to be fantasy. They're just looking for something that captures their imaginations and allows them to go ahead and, sit down and enjoy their afternoon. You'd be surprised how many guys would be willing to spend their day home on a Sunday reading if they could find something worth reading. It's what are you talking about? Novel? What do you mean, romance for guys? Well, I'm sure there's some guys will none of the guys I know, but I'm sure there's some guys out there that will go for that. No, I'm not hating. Most of the guys I know are just not going to sit down and read a romance story. If they wanted that, they go grab their wife. So it's just a different thing. They want something that captures their imagination. It can be anything as long as you can get their imagination going. That's what they're looking for. And unfortunately, like they were saying earlier, there just doesn't seem to be that many books being written that men are interested in. And a lot of the books that are being written are rewrites. Right? What I was just talking about, Dune. Those are rewrites. I mean, we heard, look, once you've seen the original, read the original book, it's hard after that. The first one was so good. When you just start rewriting it, you're really just screwing around with perfection. So that's my own personal view. Before anybody writes to anybody, that's my own personal view. David told me to say that, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, but it's I look at I even hate to watch TV now. When I turn on the TV, 90% of what I see is something I've seen in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. I'm like, please don't. Oh, let's make 3 of them. No, we don't need 3 of them. There was only one time where you don't need 3 movies.
Sure.
Maybe let's do 4. No.
A series of unfortunate events got rebooted, and we got the Golden Compass rebooted. Now we're getting Harry Potter rebooted. The last Harry Potter is still there. We can still watch it.
And it's good. Why?
And it's good. Why are we doing another one? Lord of the Rings. We had the last Lord of the Rings. It's still available. Not like in
they were talking about that the other day, making a whole new Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies. I'm like, you're shitting me, right?
It's not going to be better than Peter Jackson's. Now, if you want to redo The Hobbit, I'm with you. But like redoing Lord of the Rings is a fool's errand. It will just be worse.
I can go with you on The Hobbit.
Better, right? What they're going to do? Look, either it'll just be worse, and for the sake of doing it, or the way we will improve it is to bring it up to date with contemporary aesthetic and moral standards.
No. So, there goes that movie right out the window.
I mean, this is right. I'm not saying we're gonna have like Aragorn Boromir /fic, but like we might. And
it's funny. I was dealing with. I was doing a lecture with a group of Z-Geners at Tulane University. Actually, and we were talking about this very subject, and I'm like, so how do you like all these rewrited movies? Man, I talk about hit a nerve. Yeah. Oh Lord. I'm like, whoa. I said, I wasn't trying to say, oh Joe, no. I don't know why people think that's what we want. It's not what we want. And I keep telling people this is not what we want.
Yeah.
It's a good story. Why screw up a good story? and when the Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings came up, they were like, why would you remake this? Now these are youngs. I mean, these are 18 to 20, 27, I think, and they're like, why would you redo this? I said, well, apparently somebody thinks it needs to be corrected, and I'm like, mm-mm. Oh, that's like they're going to redo Galactic for the fourth time. I'm like, look, I'm confused. The first Galactic was campy, stupid, and funny because that's what it was supposed to be. The second one was kind of in between, and then the third one was just drama, and Starbuck was a girl. I was like, okay, even though Starbuck, we all know what Starbuck was in this series. He was a hoe dog.
Yep.
But so we get a rewrite on her, and then Boomer ended up being an Asian chick. I was like, what? I'm said, people, you had good characters. Why screw up good characters? I mean, you know, none of that made any sense to me. And then, I mean, a lot of my friends liked it. A lot of my friends didn't like it.
Yeah.
For a lot of my friends, it just was. Look, I'm gonna tell all people out there when you're writing sci-fi, if there's not some humor in sci-fi, just throw it in the garbage.
Well, this is a larger conversation, but like, so first of all, I'm with you. In fact, I think the humor in everything. But look, the problem with pantsing is why Game of Thrones ended bad. Pantsing is why the Galactica reboot, Battlestar Galactica, turned out to be, suddenly we got a Bob Dylan lyric, and the Bob Dylan song Going Through the Galaxy was what activated the Cylons, and it was God. And you're like, there was a better ending. Like you were fine for 3 seasons or whatever, right?
Oh no, they get nuts with this stuff.
But right, but so novels and Hollywood alike, it's all this J.J. Abrams mystery box. All I have to do is keep posing questions to you, and then you'll have had so much fun that when there are no good answers, you'll forgive me.
So
to tell a story.
Well, to help you people, so I was in Iraq and we're standing there getting shot at, no less. And a friend of mine looks though he just cracks a joke, and the whole company is laughing their ass. I mean, there's shit bombing bullets going everywhere. We're all laughing our asses off, and I stood him. He said, "Why?" I said, "Because when you're that things are that intense, somebody in the group is going to say something stupid." I said, "Just it doesn't matter." I said, "It's part of it." I said, it doesn't matter. You're about to die. You're about to get blown up, and still somebody's going to crack a joke. You just because really it does relieve tension and stress, even though you might be dead afterwards. But it doesn't matter if it's real life or in between. One of the reasons Star Trek made it as well as it did is because all the series has humor in them. Sometimes it's stupid humor.
This is a beautiful part of the human spirit: is the will to make light in the face of my own inevitable death. Right. Yes, I think that's terrific. What a fantastic thing. What species does that but us?
And see, that's the other thing. If you grew up on Star Trek or Star Wars or both, there's humor in all of them. So when people start writing sci-fi later on, it's just so serious. You're like, okay, somebody here's got to say something. And I'm waiting. I'm literally waiting for somebody to say something stupid. I'm like, okay, this is not working for me because I know in real life somebody would have said something stupid. Right. And maybe even as they're catching it's just part of it. I mean, so I like it better myself personally, but I'm hoping that maybe they learn from prior lessons. I mean, I've heard good stuff about the new Galactic. It's supposed to be a cross between the latest one and the first one. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's. I mean, but Jimmy, if you've never seen the first one is just campy. It's like watching Buck Rogers in the 25th century, whatever it was.
Sure.
It's just that was you don't take it serious.
70s.
Yeah, you don't take it serious. You just enjoy it. If you wanted to watch something serious back then, what was there? 1999, I think is what it was. That got a kind of serious, but even that one had a little, humor in there, here and there. It's just in the real world, there needs to be humor, people. Now, why bother? I mean, come on, something's got to be funny.
Okay.
Oh, it's one of the things. I know we got to get out of here in a few seconds, but guys, I want to thank you for coming on.
Why bother?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you so much for having us and letting us talk about.
Oh no, we'll get y'all back in the future. Maybe after y'all tell me who's going to be the big 2027 winner.
Yeah.
It's I got something in my head right now, but my writing skills are. Do you realize I have spent 7 years with these guys at Writers of the Future at Working Press,
I have heard every lecture is more than one time. And I will tell you this, I do actually understand authors a lot better now. And I do understand how you do write, but writing for me is just not a skill. I actually wrote 60,000 words over 3 years, just when I was there, and came back, looked at it and said, oh my God, Joe, delete. Oh man, I said, just stay. I like when somebody says, you want to be an illustrator? I said, yeah, I can't even draw a straight stick, man. Give me a break. Even though I understand the concepts, and one of the biggest things I never could figure out about being an author was the filler. Like I'm walking down the street and the sun's shining and the birds. I never understood how you get that into a story. I guess my imagination my imagination wanted to go from one good part to the next good part. That's not how you write, but still, I was learning. So now when I'm talking to authors, I actually understand it quite a bit more. I understand the process, the work, the labor that goes into actually being a good author. I know for some guys it may just pop in their head, but most of them are working to get there. So, no, I talked to Austin Scott Card, Jenny. He said the same thing. He said it's just not like it's gold. He said I have to work at it. I mean, when he tells you that, you need to get your ass out there and work is all I can tell you. But again, Dave, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much.
I'll get Carmen, get y'all back after y'all get the win, and we'll see how that all went down and see who it was. And I'm dying to find out what's going to be the winning story, because I mean it's such an open topic to go after. I mean, there's so many things, so many directions you can go. But again, I want to thank you for tuning in with us. Guys and girls, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio and the Author's Quill. Remember, the chat's coming up in just a few minutes. It's an open session. Remember, if you're a regular or a host or a friend, you can always join in. You can always even get on the stage. It's just, how can I say this politely? It's just a bunch of insane people talking about insane stuff. on that note, good night and stay tuned.
Okay. Goodbye.